Okay, I'm also very much looking forward to this one. This is right on target for today's era. This is the panel on music publishing in the Spotify era, which is basically just a bit of code to suggest that now that everything is digital and music is being transmitted in all sorts of ways that people never thought about 10 or 20 years ago or whenever the copyright laws were written, that now monetization of copyrights and maintaining ownership and all of the things that come with that are a little bit more complicated. And so so music publishing as you thought you knew it, but didn't. So our moderator is Michael Frisch, and he's going to take it away, guys.
All right, thank you, Scott. Thanks for having us here. Music publishing in the Spotify era, we thought we would start by just kind of setting the framework of where the business has evolved just in the last, say, 10 years. But before we get to that, I just want everyone to just do a quick introduction so you know who you're talking with. So, Michael, why don't you start?
My name is Mike Sammis. I'm COO, CFO of Universal Music Publishing.
My name is Brent McCrossen. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Audiosocket. We're a music licensing and technology company.
As you heard, I'm Mike Frisch. I work at a music law firm in New York City, and we work with all of these companies and many more.
I'm Jedd Katrancha. I run the creative department. I'm the SVP of creative at Downtown Music Publishing.
I'm Joe Conyers. I'm product manager at Songtrust.
Okay, so Michael, since you suggested the framework of where we were 10 years ago, why don't you just kind of set it up for us?
Well, at the risk of accentuating the obvious, probably 10 years ago, if you looked at a music publishing company or where your money came from in the recorded music market, probably 55% or 60% of a publisher's earnings was from physical product. No surprise to anybody, if you look at that today, globally it's about 20%. Some of that has just gone away, obviously, with the disintegration of the physical markets. Some of it, thankfully, has shifted to digital. Whether it's downloads from iTunes or other sources. So very different landscape now. I think IFPI estimated that 34% of recorded music globally now is digital. And there are certain markets, the US being one of them, where digital is already a bigger element in the recorded music market than physical. I think currently 55 to 60% of the US recorded market is now digital. So you have a very different landscape now in the music publishing industry and in the music industry generally than 5 years ago and 10 years ago.
Okay, so in the publishing world, there are certain buckets of revenue. One is mechanicals, which comes from downloads and streams. One is going to be your sync licensing, which comes when you sync up your music with a visual like you would see in a movie or a TV show. And then there's public performance royalties, which you get from, in the US, from ASCAP, BMI, and CSAC. A standard mechanical for download is 9.1 cents, but once you get into streaming, you get into interactive versus non-interactive, and the rates start getting kind of mind-boggling. I don't know if you wanted to just get into it for not too long, because we're not going to talk about specific rates. You can look it up.
Yeah. There's each different type of service has different rates. Like something like Pandora, a non-interactive service, is going to have a different rate than something that you can actually click and decide what you want to play. And Pandora is only going to generate a performance royalty, and an interactive stream like Spotify, Audio, Deezer, etc., those are going to be a mechanical and performance royalty. Something like YouTube, there's actually 3, but you don't get paid on sync, typically.
I was actually, Joe and I work at sister companies, but, I think there are some people here who don't know what Songtrust is, and I thought it might be interesting just to contextualize.
Yeah, so Songtrust helps primarily like independent and DIY songwriters, as well as managers, lawyers, labels, collect publishing royalties around the world. Traditionally, it's a little bit hard to get mechanicals in the States. You have to have like a major label release to go to get your mechanicals. We help you get those from places. If you're selling on iTunes UK, for example, those mechanicals come out of Apple's cut, and through our service, we can go get those for you.
Okay, so We touched just very briefly on the public performance royalty, but I think that's, I'm assuming that there's some artists in the room and artist managers in the room that might not be as familiar with public performance royalties and getting registered with that. So I don't know if you again want to just maybe.
One of the most meaningful revenue sources from publishing for artists in particular, those people who are writing their own compositions, writing the songs, and performing the compositions, is going to be the live programs that ASCAP, BMI, and CSAC have created. Now, ASCAP, BMI, and CSAC, if you don't know, are basically like songwriter guilds or unions. They represent artists collectively, and they go out and do these licenses. But each little bar now, you can download an app, and you can submit your set list when you play your own original compositions, and you can get somewhere like 20 bucks plus, maybe a little bit more, depending on how big the place is, if you actually are really diligent about submitting those. The biggest thing there to remember is that you only have 6 months from when you play your show to submit them. People are always forgetting to do this, but they made it pretty easy now with the apps that you can get on your phone.
Is it okay if I add? I wanted to add something when we talk about the changing landscape. It's pretty interesting. We talk about music publishing in the Spotify era. That's like the headline. How many people here actually have a Spotify subscription? Okay, almost everybody. It's a really good
incredible
percentage of people who have a Spotify subscription. But right now, we're really at the tip of the iceberg. The money being generated from subscription services is really not tremendous compared to other normal revenue streams yet. I think globally there are like 20 million subscription people who are on subscription plans. 1/3 of those are probably Spotify, 6 to 7 million subscribers. And 1/3 of those are probably in Sweden. So you really haven't made a tremendous penetration yet for, if you're talking about the Spotify era. I think the Spotify era is just happening now, but the rewards, unfortunately, are in front of us a bit.
Yeah, and with Spotify, you know, a lot of those active users are on the free tier as well, which is not getting paid, even at the premium tier, which again is not getting paid as if you were buying buying downloads and getting paid mechanicals. So
yeah. And there are only 3 markets in the world where subscription is more important than downloading. So right now I would really, maybe I'm in the minority, but I'd say iTunes or downloading a physical product is still king, certainly in the U.S. Only in Sweden and South Korea, where 95% of the music is local repertoire, and France, only in those markets is subscription-based model or Spotify-type model more prevalent for music users than typical downloads or iTunes.
We're really at early days for streaming. We're probably where they have those innovation charts, and we're still just about to hit that curve where we go up, whereas something like Pandora is definitely on the top of that curve or even ahead of that curve with about 200 million subscribers, I think. And not all of them pay, obviously, but as more people get exposed to Spotify and exposed to streaming in particular, I think it's a really compelling offering. And really compelling for the business in the long term. If we can get 100 million people paying $10 a month, we'll see more money in the music business has ever had before.
And you were discussing just a couple services that are not getting nearly as much hype, but are actually scaling better and paying better. Yeah, there are a couple really good services like Cricket, which is Move Wireless, which you get bundled with your phone on some of those cheaper wireless service providers, as well as Xbox actually has a pretty good market share. I think they almost have 500,000 subscribers. Rhapsody is also going strong with, I think, nearly 500,000 as well. It's really surprising to see where the penetration is, and some of these smaller services you think are actually a lot bigger than you might think. And same with Audio. Audio actually has a lot lower than, subscribers than I thought they would have.
Yeah, I just wanted to say one other thing. You mentioned $10. How many people who raised their hand for Spotify have the premium subscription where they pay $10 a month? Okay, it's a much, it's a much smaller subset of the total. I think these on-demand subscription models, they still have to toy around with pricing a bit, because $120 a year for somebody is a lot of money. And back in the old days, even when we went to Tower Records and bought vinyl, a lot of people didn't spend $120 a year on music, so they're not willing to do it now. So I think we haven't found a sweet spot yet. from a business perspective on pricing that'll draw more people into the premium subscription ones, which is where really the money for songwriters, publishers, and the like will be generated.
And I think what Cricket is doing, and what every publisher and label's dream would be, is if everyone lower it to $5, but have it bundled in like with cable, where it's on the phone bill, and people aren't thinking about it every month. And then it's not, you know, $60 or $120 a year that you're thinking about. It's just $5 of your phone bill that you're not thinking about. And if you can scale that up, then there's a lot more money, you know, in the pool.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
what interests me about that, if you think about it, on the digital download side, I'm by Pink Floyd's The Wall. I mean, I've listened to that record for decades now, and I paid for it once, essentially. As more and more people adopt streaming, be it, you know, paying for the monthly service via a cell phone provider or directly, or even getting the advertising revenue, technically the artist has the opportunity, long tail, to be paid for that listen in every single instance. So while, to Michael's point, the slice of revenue coming from the streaming services pales in comparison, at least in the U.S. and in most territories, to digital downloads. As we increase the adoption rates of streaming services, I think long tail for the artist, it could be quite meaningful and powerful.
Yeah, and I think as all these revenue sources become bigger and bigger, the powers that be will really figure out this has to be paid faster to songwriters. It takes almost 9 months just in the States to get your performance royalties from ASCAP, BMI, CSAC. That has to increase over time. It's just too slow for, you know, you're replacing CD sales. You need to put out your next record. You can't wait 9 months sometimes. That is sometimes where a publisher can step in and offer in advance, but not everyone has that opportunity.
Right, and I think,
you know, let me just add one other thing while you're thinking about the next topic. You know, for those of you who were here for the last panel, I found it fascinating. You got to remember, though, they were talking about the upside of Pandora, which I'm actually one of the 200 million people who use Pandora. But the upside right now is really mostly artist side. Yep. For, you know, you're talking about this is a non-interactive streaming, even though arguably I would say Pandora, for those of you who have used it, is somewhere between non-interactive and interactive. It's not just like listening to the radio. You can actually set the direction that you want the music to go. But you know, for those 200 million people that are viewing it, the large majority of the music money goes to the artist, and the publisher actually gets a very, very small piece of the revenue.
right, and we were talking about this earlier. There's been a lot of talk on the publishing side, you know. And
the songwriter, too.
Right, the Pandora has been going to Capitol Hill trying to get their statutory rates reduced by half. And, you know, there's been some media about how the people that own the company are doing pretty well. So I just wanted to read you one paragraph that I actually had the article, but he quoted it before, so I think it's worth bringing up. Last year, I traveled to D.C. with 4 songwriters to tell members of Congress how essential the issue was. You may not know their names, but they wrote some famous songs. And over 3 months, Pandora played our 5 songs 33 million times. And for those plays, they paid us combined a total of $587.39. So just, you know, the money's not there yet, obviously. And on the publishing side, especially, and for, you know, for Pandora to go to Capitol Hill and say that they're paying too much comes across as a little bit disingenuous to some people.
I think if you look at their stock price, you can see why they might be motivated, obviously, for them to get any uplift for their shareholders in compressing those margins further is probably their best way to do it. Doing it on the back of the artist, I believe we probably all submit, is not the appropriate way to go about building an effective business. And hopefully they won't necessarily be successful in what they're lobbying.
Yeah, just to put that in perspective, I think Pandora pays the artist side 50% or around there. For the publishers and songwriters, it's 4. And that's a combined 4, which means I think they give ASCAP 1.9%, BMI 1.9%, and CSAC 0.2. So the songwriting community and the publishing community through Pandora is getting a very, very low rate. So while it's a fantastic service, and like I say, I'm a user, and I bet a lot of you are too, and it does a great job of promoting musical works, the royalties are not there yet, and so it's very, you know, you're in a little bit of the wild, wild west here when it comes to these new digital companies that are coming out and going to Capitol Hill and asking for a reduction from 4% to songwriters and publishers. They want to pay less than that.
Yeah, and it's kind of absurd to even think they've been around forever. I mean, Pandora's how old now? And they're a public company. They really have to step up their game.
Yeah.
All right. And since we have limited time, I think I'm going to jump and get these guys more involved. I think we've touched on the mechanicals as much as we can. So let me jump to sync licensing, which right now is a very important revenue generator for all the music publishers. And like I was saying earlier, it's sync license when you synchronize the song with a visual image. So when you hear music in an advertisement, on a television show, in a movie, etc. Whereas on a mechanical, it's based on statutory rates set by Congress. The sync is privately negotiated, so every time that sync happens, the publishers and the person that's creating the content have to come to an agreement about what's going to get paid.
That's right. And, you know, Joe was mentioning that, you know, when we're looking at this income that we're seeing from streaming services, we're really at the early side of understanding where everything is going and working together to increase that income. Sync licensing right now for music publishers, for labels, you know, for us publishers, it's a very important and very large part of our income. And it's, you know, we've devoted a lot of time internally to developing a culture that helps us understand how to better get our music out there. So for people, and it can be everything from you know, a large commercial or a big trailer for, you know, for a movie like Iron Man 3, all the way down to you know, a small, you know, regional ad, you know, licensing a song for a couple $100 to a cable television show. You know, we're negotiating a fee for every use, and then we're also seeing performance royalties on the back end of it. So it's turned into you know, a very important source of income for songwriters. You know, there's a writer who I work with who released an album, had 11 songs on the album, and we licensed every song on the album. Some of them we licensed more than once. We did maybe 140, 150 licenses during the album cycle, and she sold 200,000 copies of her album. But on the back of 140 licenses, you know, kind of looking at the economics of, you know, of a gold record. So, you know, so writers really look for, and I think another nice thing about sync licensing is you get an injection of money up front, and then it's also something that you'll see the rewards for, you know, for months, years to come.
Right, promotional and the
both promotional and the performance income,
which just kind of keeps rolling in.
Promotional is, you know, there are sometimes you can to some extent predict the promotion. You know, certain television shows will come to a publisher and say, we're seeing on the average a 650% sales bump every time someone puts a song on our show. I think sometimes they say that as what they're really saying is,
give us a little,
yeah,
right.
we can't really afford much, so here's the reason why we, you know, why we think you should do this. But you know, but they're also, they aren't making up those figures. But a lot of times the promotion that we see is luck. To be honest, we don't, you know, you never know. You put a song in a huge ad campaign and it doesn't do anything. You put the song in a background of a TV show and a band takes off because of it. You really never know what a listener is going to connect to, because not every song is equal, and not every use of a song is equal. So you never know what people are going to react to and like the most.
Right, and that's probably one of the fun parts of your jobs is kind of the creative element where, yeah, we're talking mostly about the finance, but it's nice to, you know, get a perfect fit where the music and the scene match perfectly. And
yeah, you know, I think we view ourselves, so, you know, so I work at an independent traditional publishing company, and you know, look after, you know, music as varied as, you know, the solo works of John Lennon, Santi Gold, Mike Snow, songwriters who are not artists, you know, heritage catalogs of music, underground bands, producers, and, you know, what I view our department's job as is knowing everyone out there who might be writing a check for a song, and helping them as best as we can find their way through our catalog to a song that might make sense. And so we are doing this on behalf of our writers, and I agree with you, it is fun when we are able to make that match. A lot of times people coming to us aren't giving us as much information as we'd like, and I understand that. They're writing us an email saying, hey, I'm looking for a song, and it kind of needs to sound like this.
That's kind of where his company steps in, though, right, in a Spotify era, right?
Well, I mean, we certainly do a lot of the types of synchronization licenses that Downtown does, and larger TV spots, or even quite iconic commercials, be it for McDonald's or Progressive Insurance and all the rest. But I think where Audiosocket is kind of spun out slightly differently, and we don't have the iconic copyrights necessarily that Downtown Music has. We represent emerging indie artists and smaller indie record labels, but we've leveraged our technology to integrate that into very large-scale digital media platforms. As an example, Vimeo, y'all know Vimeo, right? One of the leading video sharing sites, 40,000 videos a day get uploaded there. And we've made, through our technology, the music available for indie filmmakers and consumers alike. And those things scale really, really quickly, and they begin to have, we've seen, a meaningful impact. One of our artists is often licensed through a partner of ours called Animoto, which they just do photo slideshows. And her song has been used thousands of times in these people's photo slideshows, and she keeps calling us saying that her record sales on iTunes continue to climb month over month. And this isn't a car commercial. This isn't a Nissan spot or the theme song of Grey's Anatomy. This is just people using these songs legally in their daily life, and the revenue really compounds. So while we, much like Downtown, are often after those bigger placements that get so much exposure and mid to high 5 or 6 figure placements, I'm sure you see, we also see a great opportunity for artists to build very sustainable careers in what we're doing with digital media, either on the consumer side or with brands.
Yeah. I think that's, there are a lot of people who need a song for whatever project they're working on, whatever size, and companies like Audiosocket are important because budgets are low, and ease of use is really important for a lot of people. They say, I have a little bit of money, I don't really know how this works, and for a company like Audiosocket, we've isolated a side of our catalog as well, where we control all of the rights, and the songwriters have told us, for these songs, you can do whatever you want, you can charge whatever you want, I just want to make something. And so we market that separately. But it's really important for people to be able to sometimes just talk to one person and find a song that works for them and then move on. There's a lot of works that we both control where we share with other publishers, where there are labels involved. Sometimes we share with multiple publishers. I know we both control songs where there are at least 15 songwriters, multiple songs like this. Right. Someone wants to use the song, and we say, well, we have 5% of the publishing, and we're very happy to help you, but you need to call these 15 people.
And these are the people that have come to you, and they want to clear the licensing, and you say, and we have $100, or it could be, I work with some iconic jazz catalogs where I do the the mechanicals or the syncs. They want to put out a DVD of the high school marching band. Okay, there's not that much, they want to make 100 copies of it, but they want to do the right thing, they want to clear it. There's a market here where you let people do the right thing and you make a little bit of money. And whereas before, it's kind of impractical.
Yeah, I just put a Trey Songz song into an NBC TV show, and for weeks leading up to it, there was just this email chain saying, okay, there are 5 publishers involved, and this is not adding up to 100% ownership. There was a 0.5% that no one could figure out who it was, and finally some other publisher said, oops, sorry, we kept saying, I'm pretty sure it's this person.
You should have just jumped in there and...
I'm the other writer, that's right.
Well, that's kind of why Audiosocket exists, really. I mean, when you've got such incredibly famous, popular copyrights like you all represent, and there's so many different people that have a stake in that, inherently there's just a lot of red tape, and there should be just more delays in clearance because of the established value of that. But what we've done is we've said, look, we've got all these amazing artists out there who have not reached the level of fame of what might be in Universal or in Downtown's catalog, and we can just clear all that up front. So when they're calling for some iconic jazz piece for the high school prom, and they just want to print 100 DVDs and they can't get it, they can go to Audiosocket and find something that is as relevant, that sounds as good, but maybe just isn't as famous, and get it at the click of a button.
That's right. And this happens for all types of music and all genres, but like hip-hop music, for instance, a music form where you have the producer is the songwriter, and therefore is the publisher. It can be sample-based at times, so you're giving a piece of the publishing to someone else who's not involved. You just sampled their work. In the world of an Audiosocket and other companies like this, there's a real lane for producers who are making hip-hop tracks and making songs where they're the sole publisher, there's no sampling, and that's really the music that you see on a lot of TV shows because it's so hard to get the popular music. For the reasons I was saying before, you might be 6 or 7 songwriters and publishers, and someone just maybe doesn't have the time. Working on a television show, often you only have a few days, sometimes a few hours to replace a song that didn't work out, and you need for it to sound a certain way. That there are real opportunities there for companies who are able to say, well, I have complete ownership of this music. You don't need to talk to anybody else. Go for it, use it.
Yeah, on the hip-hop side especially, and that's a good point. If you're a hip-hop producer, especially if you're creating work essentially yourself, you have no samples, and I want to repeat that, no samples in your work. And it's good, it's culturally relevant content that resonates with today's audiences. There is seemingly unending opportunity. We struck a deal with Monster Energy Drink a few weeks ago. John Walsh, who works with us, who led that deal. These guys are producing hundreds and hundreds of videos a year, and they have a major just need for hip-hop as well as some of the modern-day punk sounds. And getting that sample-free, getting that from indie artists, and getting that quickly and affordably is their need. And it's not as easy as you might expect. So if you're a hip-hop producer and you can do that well, get to it, because you can make a lot of money.
By the way, what Brent and Jedd do is even more important in the Spotify era, because the days of, unless you're Adele, the days of selling 5 million or 10 million albums are over. So if you want to monetize your product, your songwriting product, you've got to have engines like this behind your music. And I just want to also point out, and I'm sure Jedd's intimately familiar with this, we have artists come to us all the time and say, I don't want any money, just get my song in that television show. And the reason they want it is because it's the ultimate promotion, so that they can be heard on Pandora or Spotify or sell a few records, downloads, and that sort of thing. Nowadays, that sort of thing, what they do is the beginning of it. It's not the album release anymore. Was it in the closing credits of one of the popular TV shows of the day.
That's exactly right, because I think a lot of these, a lot of these shows, a lot of these ad campaigns are, I was saying before that it's accidental promotion, but the reality is a lot of these shows and a lot of these brands are linking their campaigns and their shows to Spotify, pushing people to YouTube and on their website or or at other places through their social media platforms. They are driving people to the song and doing a bit of promotion for you.
We're running out of time, but I wanted to get to one other hot topic, which is YouTube getting paid, for user-generated content and how that works. So,
so there are now, at least for publishers, 3 real ways you're going to get paid. For user-generated content, that would be if songs being played with the master recording to like a cat video or something, which we all know and love. And a cover song, so if someone is covering your song on YouTube, you make about 50% of the net income that YouTube is paying out. It's a lot of money, so covers are great to do.
And you being the songwriter, make 50%.
Right, I as a songwriter. If Jedd covered my song, which is a great song, by the way, It's about cats. So
Very popular.
It's very popular. I'd get 50% of the revenue. He would get some percentage for having the master. And then maybe one of these multi-channel networks, one of these partner networks would come around and say, hey, Joe, and to Jedd, probably to Jedd, say, hey, Jedd, you look like a great artist. Do you want to join our partner network? We're going to make you more money on ad revenue because we're going to sell ads at a higher rate. Then the publisher makes 35% on that cover song, and that's fine because the pot is bigger. Instead of paying these like cheaper ads, they'll pay more expensive ads. So that 35% is still a pretty good deal for us.
Yeah.
So in closing, I just think, hopefully we've kind of let you know there's revenue opportunities out here, but depending on where you are in your career, you're going to want to have a team of people such as these that can kind of shepherd you through and give you the knowledge you need to get to the next level and make some money doing it. So I think we're going to open the floor for any questions.
This is Joe.
Me? Yeah. What would you like to know?
do the cat song.
Oh yeah. Well, it's on YouTube, so you got to go to that.
Is this a member of your family?
Yeah. One of the great things about Brent's company, I think, is it brought the transactional costs down in the sync license market. And the situation you were describing earlier, where there's an email chain going back and forth for weeks trying to figure out who owns 0.5 of whatever is that's the transactional cost that can, I think, sometimes inflate the cost of the transaction in general. So one of the things that I've run into, and I'm curious from the publishers and those who are obtaining sync license, why is there a reluctance or a reticence to allow joint authors who, when there's just no, who each have, joint administration rights, there's no agreement between the joint authors, two people who just collaborated, and who under copyright law can license 100% of the entire work so long as they remit, the share to their co-author.
Yeah.
Why is there a reluctance to deal just with one person as to, having to track down everybody?
Well, this comes up a lot, and there are a few things. One, the licensing party, because certain songwriters we have deals with, have certain restrictions as to what they will or won't do as far as licensing goes. So if we instigate a breach, the real victim of that might end up being the licensing party, and they don't want to deal with that. And we don't want to put them in that position because we look at them over and over and over again.
You're opening yourself up to liability if there's unknown out there, and then you're getting attorneys involved.
And also, if we share enough work with someone else, if there's a reason, even if we don't understand what that reason is, if there's a reason why they're holding up the process, and we in turn license their share, it's all about a future, quality of life for us. We don't want to. We'd rather just let it go than have to deal with an argument and maybe something worse than an argument.
There's a certain level of comfort there, but to me it seems like that's a flaw in the Copyright Act. I mean, there's a point there where joint authors are supposed to be able to make full use of the entirety of the work. And if in practicality that is unable to happen because your clients are unable to go out there on a limb and take that risk, then that seems to be a problem.
Yeah, I mean, we're I'd like to think that we're extremely easy to deal with, and I think that there's a difference between joint authors who are frequent collaborators and one-time collaborators. I mean, our rule with our songwriters who aren't artists, we approve anything if our writer is not the artist. It's not just our rule, that's what our writer asks of us. They write a song with another artist and that person's the artist, they're never going to say no. I mean, we would never say no.
As an attorney, I would never counsel like a TV show to say, just take his word for it, he's going to get, he'll pay the other guy. My advice would be get a one-page agreement that says you have the right to go out and deal with this. I'm a flake and I don't want to deal with it.
Right, if there's indemnification, whatever, I mean, sure. No, I get it.
That's all you have to do. You have to get it in writing and send it out, and then you're the administrator of 100% and go kill it.
I mean, I can tell you that we have been, we've had an issue before where, a writer of ours made an album, and her co-writer for the entire album was signed to a major publishing company, not this major publishing company, a different one, and we had some issues with some of the licenses that we were trying to do. We did a big ad campaign, and on the back of that, the brand wanted to give away 10,000 downloads, and they wouldn't do it, and we were okay with it. So those things happen every once in a while, but we worked it out together and ended up having a lot of success with this artist. So, I'd like to think that it's not. We can talk about this later because I know some other people have questions, but I'd like to, hopefully it's not a huge problem that you've dealt with, and if it is, maybe I could give you some advice on how to make it not a problem.
Well, great panel.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yep. Thank you.
So for independent artists that own their own masters, do you administer the master use licenses as well? I know that's a separate thing from the sync, so could you just...
Yes,
I guess that's
do.
more for Brent than I don't know about Jedd. Because you're dealing with major artists, the record companies are probably doing the master use.
Not everyone is. We do represent some masters and
there are re-records.
And do whether it's a re-record of a big hit song, but we do have kind of a competing side of our company. But I'll let you talk about it. It's your.
Yeah, they do some of this for part of their catalog as well, but we've essentially cleared both the master and the synchronization rights in advance for all of the artists in our catalog, be it they're completely independent or even an independent record label. They have provided those rights to us so we can issue the licenses on both sides as needed without needing to refer to anybody.
And then, so do you do the collection on both sides and then distribute to the artist?
We do the collections on the upfront payments.
Right. Okay.
The publishing performance side comes obviously from ASCAP and BMI or whoever your pro is on the back end. But the checks are sent to Audiosocket directly from the client. If we license to Saatchi and Saatchi or Ogilvy or NBC or whomever, they're sending the payments for both master and sync to us, and then we distribute royalty payments every 6 months.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I was actually going to very quickly go back and ask Joe a question because I know you want to hear from Joe more. This is, and I'm going to go back to YouTube, and we were talking about that before. I think it's really interesting. I've seen our statements from YouTube, and I've seen how much we're making off of our videos. But you received your first YouTube payment
very recently,
and you work largely with emerging artists. So, do you want to talk about just in layman's terms how much money you can make from having your video streamed on YouTube?
It's really going to be varied between the type of video. If you write a video about getting a DUI, you're going to get a lot higher rates because the lawyers pay $80 per the ads. But if you write it about cats, everyone writes about cats. I love cats, but $1 CPM which is dollar per thousand views, really isn't going to move the needle versus $80 at like a DUI video or something. Not that I suggest writing about DUIs. Yeah.
DUI videos.
Also mesothelioma, which is the lung cancer you get from asbestos, that has a high CPM. I don't know.
You write a lot of songs about it.
Yeah. So, but anyway, if you write songs about cars and other things that have a higher value for advertisers, you're going to make a little bit more money there. We're just starting to see the payments. They're a little late, but we're starting to get them. My biggest advice, though, would be to make sure that you tell your publishers about your ISRC codes if you are the artist, which is the recording code. So if you release like CD Baby or other distributors, make sure you write down that ISRC and give them to your publishers because they're really going to have a hard time matching the song title to the YouTube video title and the artist name and the writer name. That code really is what links everything together.
Okay, let's do a couple more quick ones and then we got to wrap it.
Yeah, I'm Desmond, roots reggae singer-songwriter. I've been hearing a lot about local artists, New Orleans artists, and lots of genres. Nothing about reggae, so I'm just wondering if you guys have much experience with that genre, and if there's any scope for any much licensing or so for that genre.
Yeah, I mean, if there's on every scale, there's. You're saying, is there much opportunity to promote that music through licensing? Absolutely. I mean, at one point in time, I had a different job. I looked after the Bob Marley estate, and that's of course very different. But there was quite a bit of licensing for that catalog. But just through the years and through...
But also sometimes you want Marley, but you don't want to pay for Marley.
And that's exactly right. I mean, there's, I think, here and everywhere, there are certain images, and it can be in the world of licensing, that can be kind of a lifestyle music, and so if the visual supports that, and I'm really going to trivialize everything that genre is about for a moment. If we're looking at a piece that takes place on a beach or in the sun, or people having fun, and I'm not saying that that's what the music's about, but for licensing, we get requests all the time. Adam Sandler, 50 First Dates, he's working as riding around on jet skis a lot. We want to license a lot of reggae music. We do see it quite a bit. So I think there is, if the question is there opportunity, then definitely.
One more question?
This is the last question.
Okay. Well, thanks for this panel. This has been really amazing. But I have a question about the PROs. It's obviously a rights administration system that was developed long before the internet, and so you guys are kind of disrupting publishing with what you're doing. I'm wondering, do you see any kind of disruption with the monopolies on the PROs, or do you think that they're going to just keep being around with the way they're doing, or do you see other solutions for that?
I'm going to let the major publisher...
Yeah, a number of the major publishers have already moved to withdraw digital rights from the U.S. PROs. And that's because the U.S. PROs are essentially monopolies. There's two of them, so they're a duopoly, right? But, there's three of them, but they operate in that sense. So a long time ago, they were put under what's called a consent decree, which means basically that they can deny a license to no one. If you come and you want to use ASCAP's music, ASCAP has to give you a license. If you can't agree on a fee, then you go to court and you fight over it, but you can't withhold the license. What some of the major publishers have done, Universal included, is you're enabled under the law to withdraw your digital rights from the PROs, and thereby you eliminate the PROs from the negotiation. That gets you away from the consent decree, and now if you can't agree a deal with somebody, you don't go to court over it, you just don't give them your music. So you have more bargaining power at the table. Well, in theory, you have a little more bargaining power at the table when you're dealing with the digital service provider because you have music that they want to license, and if you don't reach an agreement, it's more like a typical arm's length transaction with the hot dog guy over there. He wants $4.25. If you don't pay him it, you don't get a hot dog. That's not the way it works in the PROs, though. You eat the hot dog, and then you go to court to fight over how much to pay for it. So it's like ridiculous.
Thank you, guys. That's it. I think everyone's kind of anxious to get to the fairgrounds. I know I am.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
How about one more time for this great panel? Joe Conyers from Songtrust, Jedd Katrancha from Downtown Music, Michael Frisch, Brent McCrossen from Audiosocket, and Michael Sammis from Universal Music Publishing. Thank you all. We'll see you all back here tomorrow.
90.7 on the dial, wwoz.org on the web. Coming to you live from the Jazz and Heritage Festival. Let's get right back to the stage with Mark McGrain and Plunge.